episode of To the Show Baseball podcast presented by Beyond the Monster. My name is Andrew Parker, and today's guest that I have on is a new member of the Red Sox organization. I had AA Portland Sea Dogs new assistant hitting coach, Johnny Reina, on. Reina is a guy that is a former driveline guy, so we do see that quite a bit in the Red Sox organization, but obviously a wealth of knowledge that he's already assumed. I mean, he started his journey in baseball as a sales intern for the Pawtucket Paw Sox. So think about where he came from to become the AA hitting coach in Portland. So obviously we kind of break into, how he started, all the way from a lowly intern in Pawtucket all the way to a AA hitting coach. So we do kind of talk about, his background with Driveline, what he was doing there and how that led him to the Red Sox organization, why he picked the Red Sox organization as well. So we cover all that, and also get into a little bit of breaking down some guys that he's had a chance to work with this spring. And I know a few names that come to mind, obviously Mikey Romero and Blaze Jordan are two names that, are just still on the radar for Red Sox prospects, outside the big three there. So, he was a fantastic one to talk to, obviously brand new to the organization. So good to see his backstory and as he gets his journey started in professional baseball. But before I go any further, please, if you're watching this, listening to this, wherever you are, if it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen or watch your podcast, please, please, please give me a like, give me a subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the Spotify, whatever you got to do. It helps me out a ton. Obviously, these are conversations that I love having with these guys. And, you guys supporting it, liking it, subscribing, it means the world to me. So I'll quit rambling. Without further ado, here is my interview with Johnny Reina.
All right, guys, I am joined by the Portland Sea Dogs assistant hitting coach, Johnny Reina, a new member of the Red Sox org from our good pals over there at Driveline, sending all the guys over to the Red Sox org, which we will get into. But, Johnny, I was talking off air, and, for people that aren't too familiar with you and may not be too familiar with, Driveline and all the guys that they have given our system, I guess I just wanted to start off with a pretty basic and easy question for you is, I guess, can you just kind of introduce yourself to the Red Sox world and just kind of where you came from and how you got here?
Yeah, well, first of all, Andrew, thank you for having me on. Pretty excited to be a part of the org. How I got here is through Driveline and the ties that Driveline has with the Red Sox and the development piece. I mean, Jeff Passan just released a pretty detailed article talking about our core four and our development and stuff. And, the Driveline's direct ties to here is the main component of why I ultimately picked coming here. So pretty excited.
Yeah, and I think, this, I feel like Driveline kind of hit the spotlight, just in the Red Sox world of things, obviously just not even a couple years ago. I feel like it's been pretty fresh. And obviously with names like Kyle Bodie coming, being in his role with the Red Sox, I feel like it put a big spotlight on, I guess, Driveline as a whole, and even just all the talent. I know that's all across Major League, but I feel like we kind of joked about this off air. Like, I feel like there's a million guys that came from Driveline that are now in the Red Sox system. So for
Sure.
you on the hitting side of things, I feel like we were talking about a lot of the pitching side of things. From the hitting side of things, can you kind of just go into a little bit of detail on how you became a hitting coach and I guess where that began for you?
To be honest with you, it started kind of on accident. Back in when I was finishing up school, it was filled with injuries to the end of my career, and I found that I wanted to find a way to compete and still help my teammates, while not being able to be on the field. And so I started developing scouting reports and talking to guys about their swing, and basically became like a player coach, and then transitioned there to start coaching as soon as I graduated with Anselmi Baseball out of Boston, where I interned at Pawtucket, and I was a sales intern there, and I did an unpaid like scouting like kind of thing as well. So I started coaching, realized that I really enjoyed it a lot, and I felt like there was internal, fulfillment, as well as like watching other guys grow and succeed. And just kind of kept building from there. Worked at some other private, facilities and coached collegiately, Division III and junior college levels, and then decided that I needed to do something to bring myself to a different level of growth and challenge myself and do something I was uncomfortable with. And I figured the best place for me to go was Driveline. They're the data driven, the capital of the world that I proclaimed, and it's no joke. Um, and it was stuff that I knew I needed to become good at if I wanted to be in professional baseball, in regards to understanding how the numbers worked, the biomechanics worked, and so on and so forth, and as well as how to properly train guys. Not that I didn't have confidence in my ability; it was just like there's other ways out there, and I wanted to become as informed as possible, and get as many tools in my belt as possible to help guys. So yeah,
Did you start that off saying that you started as a sales intern for the Paw Sox?
I did. I
You had
did.
all so you went from sales intern with the Paw Sox to an assistant hitting coach with Portland. Um, I feel like if that doesn't kind of scream to you that like anything is possible and you can kind of develop your own path, I don't know what does. Like, did you ever picture yourself when you were being that intern in the Paw Sox uh, front office there, going to where you are now? Like, did you ever think that that was even an option for you?
Actually, every day.
Okay.
Every day I felt like I needed to have, a goal in mind that I was trying to work towards and, keep pushing through. So like when I was the intern, I would grind out the doing the sales stuff, which, the great guys there, like, love spending time with them, but it really wasn't my love. So every day I have a picture in my mind of what I wanted to accomplish. And for me, like setting that goal and envisioning like myself continuously moving up, was ultimately where I felt like I could end up being. I didn't know how long it was going to take. So, I mean, it took 7 years of a lot of diligent work. And, I had multiple jobs while trying to do it, so, yeah, it's pretty humbling though. Like every day just walking in and says, welcome to Fenway South. And, me thinking back to what I was doing, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I love that story, to be honest. I was not expecting you to hit me with, yeah, I was a sales intern at Pawtucket
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Crazy. I don't know. It's just weird how life works sometimes. And I love that you kind of spoke it in. I'm a big fan speaking things into existence. So I love that.
Yeah.
That you kind of did that for yourself. So getting back to kind of the drive line aspect, and and I know I was talking with you a little bit about this off air, and I feel like when people think of drive line and the treads of the world and all the different places out there, they think of pitching. That's like all they think about. They're like, oh yeah, like that guy's working out a drive line this off season. This guy's working out a tread. This guy's a Cressy, whatever it is. So for the hitting side of thing, what was your role, I guess, at Driveline? I guess with the hitting, like what did you work on there?
Oh boy.
I know it's
So
probably a loaded answer, but I'm sorry about that.
yeah, no, it's all good. I started off as an intern at Driveline. So I was a director of player development at an organization, a private organization, and left that to become an intern at Driveline. So I was like, okay, I'll start at the bottom. It's no problem for me. And, it is what it is. I got to start somewhere again, and this is it. So when I started as an intern, I primarily had a lot of like upper level high school guys, some college guys, and it started getting filtered up and up and up. And then I conducted a couple of research studies. One specifically that ended up getting me hired was like workload study with hitters. And pitchers have pulse and they have all these things that monitor their workload and how much their output is. But on the hitting side, there really wasn't, anything that we had like out there that was showing the information like, okay, like how much is too much, how much is too little, how you can like continuously increase bat speed without like hitting that plateau or like facing like an acute injury or an overtraining injury. And so in collaboration with the high performance department and research and development department, I put together like a little team and we got after it. And so I did that, did some studies with some of the new leather baseballs that are coming out soon, that kind of thing. And then they hired me full time, and then my responsibilities increased quite a bit. And then I started to get a lot more pro guys and assisting with the major league guys and stuff when needed. And so that's what ended up tying me into really here.
So how did the road lead to the Red Sox org? I guess like would you like, was it somebody in particular that that you had used to work with that was like, hey, like come over to this place, like they're pretty good? Or I guess like how did your road lead to the Red Sox org?
So it was my desire to, you know, be a part of, an organization where I felt like I was going to be able to bring value to it, and be a good fit, within the org. Um, and I always had aspirations of getting back to the East Coast where my fiance and my family's at. And with the ties that the Red Sox have with Driveline and Bodie being in my ear all the time about, like, hey, it's a good spot, dude, it's a good spot. And then they saw the job postings, and I was communicating with Sideropoulos, one of our hitting coordinators, and he was the one who ran an original study on the hitting workload. So I texted him and said, hey, basically, I saw this opening. What do you got? He said, we're looking for somebody who's, Spanish speaking and X, Y, and Z. And I bought like Rosetta Stone that day, and I texted him and I said, like, I was ready for spring training. And he's like, that's sick. And continued to talk to him, talk to Ochart, interview with our other hitting coordinator, Harry Roberson, and, talk to a few of the other guys who came from Driveline over to Boston. I was what do you think? Like, and they're like, dude, like, it's the spot. So they made my decision pretty easy between clubs, and very happy with my decision. Took well now since November. So
How's the Spanish these days?
yeah, hablo mucho.
I I lied to myself last year and I said last off season I got Duolingo on my phone to start learning Spanish because I'm like, there's so many Spanish guys in Worcester's clubhouse, and I'm like, I gotta talk to them. Like, it's that language barrier is real, and it's like some of these guys are great players, obviously every year that come up and they're all Spanish speaking. It's like I would love to talk to them, but it's like I can't. So I lied to myself that I was going to be fluent last offseason. Didn't get it. Didn't get it done. Didn't get it done this offseason either. But it's good to hear that you had a little more success than I had.
Yeah, the good like a little life hack. I have AI translating headphones too. So I
Okay.
had it's 14 different dialects of Spanish. So when I'm in the cages though, it's a little bit different because we're bumping a Bad Bunny and everything else. So like there's a whole lot of Spanish going on, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to use them in there. But like in quieter environments, it's perfect.
Wow. Okay.
So I can understand them pretty well, and like speaking it, I'm getting better and better each day. And I'm forcing myself to communicate with those guys and let them know that I'm trying. And it's easily helping me build rapport with those guys for sure.
Yeah. No, that's love to hear that. I mean, obviously, I think it's something that learning a second language is so hard. It is incredibly hard, and that's why I became so much more impressed with guys like Cedon Rafaela, just knowing in so many different languages. I think he can speak like 4 or 5 different languages. It's
Yeah, it's
incredible.
crazy.
But all right, so jumping into you and your current job now, this one's going to be, it might be a tough question, might not, but what does the AA hitting coach do during spring? Like, what are some of your responsibilities, and what are you doing like day to day while down in Fort Myers?
Day to day, it's pretty similar for the most part. Only time things get, a wrench thrown in there is if like, with rain and then all of a sudden big league sides and stuff get moved over to us. But um, for the most part, it's the same. Kind of we get in there, we roll in, just after 6 in the morning, get to breakfast around 7, and then after that, it's full go. And I'm either looking at, our biomechanical reports on guys I'm assigned, going through information I have on hitters that I've been writing down with other coaches who have been with them or seen them more. I go on like True Media or so on and so forth and watch at bats on guys, and that way I'm starting to understand not only how they're operating inside that cage, but once they step in the box, on the field, and that competitive juice flows, like what's actually happening, because it's a different, obviously, atmosphere, and it's like, okay, how can I understand these guys better, and that's through communicating through our awesome staff. So going through cage work, all throughout the morning to early afternoon. And then we have a traject, which I try to volunteer for whenever I can, to basically click on that thing, let guys see big league arms who, today they were facing DeGrom and Taj Bradley and all those other guys, and they're having a blast doing it. So, yeah, that's pretty much the day. Then a couple times a week, maybe some player meetings and going over like the biomechanics stuff from the lab. But it's very exciting, just being able to see guys work every day, and you never know what each day is going to bring within the confines of the cages. But it's always going to bring really good energy and really competitive atmosphere.
So yeah, I do I do want to ask you about a couple different players specifically that you've had the chance to kind of see and talk to, and that have either been in Portland or going back to Portland this year. But first, I want to ask you about your experiences with one of my favorite coaches in the Red Sox organization, and his name is Chad Epperson. He is one. I don't know why. Every time I see the guy, he's always trying to make everybody else laugh, trying to make them smile. I mean, he's just Epi. Like Epi is Epi. He is one of the best in the York. So, what has been your experiences, I guess, around Epi so far?
He says some things that just like hit you like quick. And we were talking about a couple of hitters, and he just says like out of the blue, like when you get in the box, there's different demons that hit you, and I was like, yeah, like he's right. Like, you never know, how a guy, like I was just saying, like interacts in that box, versus like training environments or even live ABs or so on and so forth. And so Epi's, a book of knowledge that I'm leaning into whenever I have time with him. I mean, right now it's mostly in the mornings. And I'm trying to get to know him as much as possible. But with that dude being a baseball lifer, man, he's got a breadth of knowledge, and he's a funny cat. Like he's a good dude. So I'm looking forward to continue to interact with him throughout the next however many months.
Yeah, I always joke, with the other Chad Tracy, and he's, Chad Tracy is a little more serious, but he's obviously a little laid back, and he likes to have a good time. But I feel like he's got a little bit of his dad in him, and he's kind of like, all right, like we're gonna stay serious, calm, collected, everything. But Epi is just like you said, baseball lifer. He's got stories about everything.
Yeah, and funny
And
ones.
Oh yeah. I've already heard about, some of the fantasy football leagues that he's been in and some mound visits he's had with some of the guys over the years. And it's just like, are you taking me out because I beat you last week? Things like that. And it's just like,
Yeah.
that's the only, like, I feel like I'd only hear that about Epi in the system. Like, I don't know, it's just an Epi thing. All right. So I do want to kind of ask you about a couple of I guess, some of the guys that, you're kind of getting to see a close up look on. And obviously some of the guys that, I've been in Portland or potentially going back to Portland, but obviously a guy he's been a fan favorite since he was drafted by the organization, and Blaze Jordan. I just had Blaze on this program just a month or two ago, and obviously Blaze is always good to talk to. He's big Zaxby's guy, so I'm always appreciative of him. But for you, obviously you may have already known Blaze before joining the org, anything like that, but obviously he's a YouTube star. But what have you been seeing from Blaze this spring? And I guess how's your relationship been with him?
It's been good. It's always developing with players. Like, the more you get to know him, but he is relentless when it comes to like, what he wants to accomplish and his work ethic, and he understands where he's at and what he needs to do to get where he wants to go, is ultimately Fenway, right? So talking with him, about adjustments that we're going to continuously work towards for this season. Blaze is very good at bat to ball and putting the ball in play, and it stands out to us like he's around like a 62% swing rate, and yet he only punches 12% of the time. So like that's pretty drastic right there. And then on the flip side, like he only walks 5% of the time. So we've been talking a lot about his swing decisions and utilizing that he does have juice. It's like, okay, let's figure out a way to start applying him more. He could literally double his strikeout rate, be league average, and make a significant jump to his overall production. So it's just like crazy things like that we've started to talk about and dive into, and that dude's a workhorse, and very, very open and communicating, and really good communicator as well.
Yeah, he's come on this show the past couple of years, and I think going into last off season, not this previous one, but he had kind of went on a little bit of a health journey where he decided that he wanted to get in better shape so that way he could be better defensively at third base and things like that. And obviously we saw him play this past year, and two freak injuries that happened that are very unfortunate, because obviously getting hit in the face is not something you can really plan for, or not doing so. I hope to see him. Obviously, I want to see him healthy all year. And, if, like you said, I would love to see, just a new and I guess adjusted Blaze Jordan going into the year. Another guy that I actually saw take a awesome round of BP when I was down at the complex was Mikey Romero. And he looked, I'm going to let you answer this one, but to me, he looked a little bigger than he did last year. He looked pretty strong. So what have you been seeing out of Mikey?
Mikey's electric. He very confident dude who, I'm looking forward to being with, throughout spring training, and if he ends up in Portland together. But he, it really stands out to me, not only the confidence that he goes about his business on a daily basis, but how he goes about the work he's putting in as well at the same time. We were together on the field for double angle machine work the other day, and we have a couple rounds with upper angle machine, a couple rounds of pull side angle machine. Do a home run derby with him and Johan Fran Garcia, and they're the last round. Mikey's like, okay, like, how many do I need to take the lead? And I was like, all right, two tie, three to take the lead. Mikey takes 4 out of 5 in a row deep, and then John Fran ended up, taking his last round. They ended up tying or whatever it was. And then at the end, Mike was like, all right, like, let me take another, like, Oppo round, just get myself squared away again. I was like, no problem. Start feeding the Oppo machine. First 2 balls, he hits them like as if it was a pull side homer from a righty, to left center field at like 420, 430. And it was just like, it was so easy. So I think his talent and his ability and his work ethic combined, it really makes him a special dude. And like I was saying to you off air, it was like every day when there's live EBs and he's getting ready for him, he'll walk up to me and just say it's a bad day to be a pitcher, and I love it. The confidence is exuding, and it's never in a way that's like demeaning towards like anybody. It's always in a way that he's really confident in what he's going to do that day.
So I think Mikey is such a an interesting example of obviously he was a high round draft pick obviously in previous years, and I feel like he's just had like a bit of, I guess, bad luck with some injuries throughout the way. And last year we saw him get up to Portland, and I feel like he went on a power tear where he was hitting home runs. Like I think I was at a couple games down whenever they were in Double A for the Nationals down there in Pennsylvania. I forgot where it was. Harrisburg, yeah. I don't want to remember that stadium, man. That place is wild. But yeah, I for some reason I was down in Harrisburg and I was watching them play, and it was the first week Mikey was up, and he hit like 3 home runs that week, and I'm just like, this guy like isn't known for his power, but then he kind of started doing it. So for you being a new guy to the org and obviously getting a chance to work with a guy like Mikey Romero for the first time, how do you work with him and I guess get him prepared for like longevity of a season? And obviously whether it's like trying to add strength or do things differently, like how do you approach that, I guess, seeing Mikey for the first time and actually getting to work with him?
So for me and my side, it's like everybody in the org does a really good job of communicating on what's going on all fronts. So like, so obviously the strength department and nutrition, everybody's got their own game plan they're operating at. For me, it's just like I feel like my role is I need to constantly communicate with him on how he's feeling on a daily basis. What's his workload like, just like every other hitter. Like some days they'll have a conditioning test, they'll come in and they're pretty burnt out by the time they end up getting to they take some swings. So it's like understanding where a guy's at each day, and understanding that we have like at Double A with 140 games to play as well, like not including playoffs. So it's a long year, and understanding that being patient with the process and letting guys continue to build up is important, and like hitting the gas pedal right away isn't always the answer. And letting that guy get his work in, and we talk through things, and he has a really good understanding and feeling a feel about what he wants to accomplish, as well as like pair with obviously what the organization values. And it's really good. And that dude's got really, it's not sneaky juice anymore. It's real juice.
Yeah, I thought that when he got called up to Double A, I'm like, okay, this guy's got. I had a buddy that was pitching for Harrisburg that week, and he like leaned over to me at one of the pre games, and he was just like, "Who is this Mikey Romero guy? I've like never really heard of him. Like, does he have pop? Like, he's kind of going yard this week?" And I'm like, I didn't think he had pop, but apparently it was sneaky, not anymore. So
Mike can go air pull.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's cool to see, man. It's cool. Something that I am more curious about, and I kind of talked with you about this previously, but it's something in regards to a lot of the pitching sides of things, and I feel like fans are so focused on like what was this guy's velocity at, what was this guy's strike rate, whatever it is, like on the pitching side of things. So I'm curious on the hitting side of things. Obviously minor league baseball is a little different where it's like, the box score and the stat sheet doesn't always tell the whole story on if a guy had a successful year, successful week, successful day. They could have been working on something, whatever it was. So for you, what stats do you look at? What do you examine to see if a guy has had, let's say, a successful week at the plate?
So I'm gonna first honestly look at the swing decisions, like what pitches are we swinging at, what are we doing those pitches, and then the batted ball outcome. Not if it was caught, not so much like what was the actual result of the hit, but more looking at like the ex loba of it. So how hard it was hit, where was it, the spray angle of it, and so on and so forth. And pairing that with the swing decisions, like okay, was this a productive week? Were we making good decisions? When we were making those decisions, what was like our batted ball like efficiency? Like where are we operating at? Were we trending up? Are we like flatline? Are we going backwards? Like what's the deal here? Then as well as like what arm side of the plate or side of the rubber were they seeing? Is it a guy who hasn't seen a lefty in 2 weeks and he's left-handed bat? Like, that kind of thing. So I'm pretty much looking at those primarily, like diving in and making sure like guys are getting their swing off, especially like pre 2K, making sure that they're trying to do damage on pitches and make good swing decisions.
So I need the final verdict here from a guy that is in a hitting coach role. Is batting average a antique stat?
For sure.
Okay. So
For
it's just
sure.
like ERA on the pitching side. It's like we shouldn't judge guys off of those numbers anymore. Are you in that boat?
Yeah, 100%. It's like, if you look at guys like, like for instance, like Schwarber from Phillies, right? Like low batting average guy, but like has a 130, 140, whatever OPS, hits 40 bombs. You're going to tell me that the guy who's got like a 140 OPS, you're not going to want on your team? And that dude's leadoff guy hitting, two and whatever, like low twos, but has a good walk rate. Yeah, he's like a legit three true outcome guy, but what his batted balls are very productive. So to me, the batted ball events and ex woba and what the guy does overall, not so much batting average, because batting average is it's to me it's cool to say you hit 300. Guys like seeing the board and seeing like a 3-4-5 slash line. That's great. Confidence and stuff. But at the end of the day, I think players are getting so educated now that they're buying into what really matters. I think the average you're going to see eventually. I think you're going to end up seeing it, start to really fade off in regards to the scoreboards. You go to major league games now, and you see all the advanced metrics and stuff on the boards anyway. So I think you're eventually going to see that. It's always going to be prevalent, to the old school fans and stuff like that. But eventually, I think it's going to be taken over.
Yeah, I feel like that used to be like for any hitter, it's like, well, did he hit 300? That's how you know if he had a really good season. Like that was like people's thing of like, he's like, did he hit 280 like or 260? Like, I don't want a guy that hits 260 on my team. It's like, kidding me? I'd kill for that. I'd love that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's something that obviously is still not dead yet because, batting average still determines batting titles. So it's like, Luis Ariz will probably argue with you that he cares a lot about batting average. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's just something I know a lot of pitchers and pitching coaches are like, ERA doesn't tell everything. Like it doesn't matter that this guy had whatever he had. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I like it. I got a couple more questions left for you before I let you
Sure.
slide. And I got to know, have you been to Portland, Maine before?
Never.
Never been to Portland,
Never.
Maine.
I'm excited to be there. You know, I have the apartment and everything ready to go. Heard nothing but awesome things about Portland, how beautiful it is and stuff like that during the summer. But I've also heard how cold it is early in the season, so make sure I'm bundling up there.
Yeah, did you know that Portland's home opener last year was a snow out?
I did know that.
Yeah, that's
And, and this year's or this year's away opening series is in my hometown
where's that?
In Reading, PA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Could
so it's
possibly be a snow out there, but
yeah, it could potentially be for sure. It's growing up playing high school ball there. You never knew if you're going to be shoveling the infield and stuff for practice.
that's fair. I always think the Northeast baseball kids were just raised different. It's nothing like the Texas kids and the Florida kids, what they had to endure. They can play baseball all year round out there, but it's like you
Sure.
Northeastern kids, man. You guys went through the grind when you were
Yeah,
young.
you're in a facility like 7 months a year.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough. I mean, those Florida guys are outside in January, February, and they don't care. So
Yeah.
So for you with Portland, you never being there, what kind of things are you looking forward to? Not even on the baseball field, but like, what are you looking forward to about off the field things? And what have you heard so far about Portland that you're looking forward to?
Honestly, heard that there's a lot of good places to go and hang out, and it's not too far from the water either. And being able to take time and just in the mornings before I go to the ballpark or whatever, just starting to explore a new city. I've been now across the country and tried the West Coast thing, and I've been all around the East Coast, Midwest. I think it's just always fun exploring new areas. They said the food around there is really good too, so pretty excited to try all that.
There's a place with the best lobster roll in America, in my opinion, there in Portland,
Okay.
Maine, downtown. It is fantastic. So yeah, definitely need to try those out. All right. Oh yeah, definitely. No, I feel like some of the coaching staff will probably let you on to. I know Epi's probably got a few good spots if he's into seafood. There's some guys up there like Connolly Early. I don't know if you have gotten a chance to be around him yet. He doesn't eat food. He's so picky. He doesn't like seafood, nothing. So don't listen to him on anything he says about.
No, I'm Italian, dude. I'm in a seafood and I eat it diet. That's what it is.
All right. Well, all right. I got one last question for you before I let you
Sure.
slide. And I know we talked a little bit earlier, just in regards to like, what kind of numbers you look at for your players in regards to like, hey, how do you know if your player has a successful weekday, whatever it is. But I want to go to you now for you and your role. And let's just say that we are, we go through the 25 season, it's over. You got your first year in the book. What would you categorize as a successful year? Like, what are you going to judge yourself on if you have a good year or not in your coaching role?
That's a good question. For me, it's making sure that I'm continuing to keep the engine moving, that we've already have up and running, and what we have building here, what we're building here is something that I think, like, when I see it on a daily basis, is truly incredible when it comes to environment creation and the guys' overall development. And I think the biggest thing is, with Chris Hess and I, working in tandem there, is I want to be, the best version of myself and the same dude every day. If I'm that dude every day and, we go about things, the way that uh, we know, or I know that we can, and I've seen, I know that things are going to be productive, regardless of wins and losses or, what a guy's batting average ends up being. It's just like, okay, did these guys develop? How did they develop? And reflecting on that and, successful year to me is at the end of the year that I know I was the same guy every day when I walk into that clubhouse and when I walked out. And I had to take a lot of pride in that, and I think that to me is a successful year.
Well, Johnny, I appreciate all the time. I know obviously your schedule's a little crazy being the new guy still kind of learning the ropes a little bit. And in professional ball. But I want to thank you so much for hopping on and doing this, and obviously getting to know. I know Red Sox fans are probably pleased to get to know another coach in the organization. So thank you so much for hopping on.
No, thank you, dude. It was a pleasure.